Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Crafty Simulations video. Now, don't tune back to another video because I know I do VFR and general aviation aircraft, and the aircraft of which you see before you is most certainly not VFR or general aviation. This is the Aeroplane Heaven P47 Thunderbolt, and although this channel is set up for general aviation aircraft, like I said, I do like to delve into other styles of aircraft here on the sim, and I've had my eye on this for quite a while, and in my view we've got some pretty damn good warbirds on the sim. We have obviously the F4F Wildcat. That is an amazing aircraft. The Spitfire Mark 9 is do we use Mark 9? I can't remember exactly which mark it is now, but again, a fantastic aircraft, amazing sounding aircraft. And Airplane Heaven is sometimes a bit hit and miss when it comes to their aircraft, but this aircraft's had an update, and it's the sounds. And I have always said, and I will always stick by this, sounds are so important to an aircraft, especially when you start going into iconic aircraft such as the Jug, of which you see before you. Now, I haven't featured this aircraft in any of my videos before, and I wasn't really going to feature it, but when it turned out that Echo 19 were going to do the sounds for it on an update version for this for the P47, I was like, you know something, I'm going to have to feature this. So I haven't flown it very much. I flew it yesterday, and I was genuinely, in places, blown away by the sounds. I think they're awesome. I haven't been around too many P47s. I do believe there is one P47 in the UK, different variant of this version. And I'll go into one of the major things that's different about the two variants. But on some accounts, this sound set that comes with this aircraft now by Echo 19 has just made it exactly like a real P47. It's absolutely fantastic. So, being that this is the first time this aircraft has featured on the channel, I thought I'd go through what the developer says. And the developer has said quite clearly, all new high-fidelity models with superb detail, including gear wells and the famous Pratt & Whitney. I think they mean Pratt & Whitney engine, but, you know, yes, it does look a very, very good aircraft. I mean, we're not talking like A2A standards, but it is a very beautiful aircraft in its own rather unique way. I will talk a little bit about the stablemate of this aircraft, the P51 Mustang, and how they are pretty different, pretty much chalk and cheese really, but we'll go on to that in a minute. So carrying on with the beautifully crafted exterior and interior models built over contemporary detailed plans and drawings. I guess there was quite a few drawings now out there about the P47, and apparently Airplane Heaven have paid attention to all the little details. Authentic cockpit detail includes many bespoke animations and effects. Full PBR materials and textures, including realistic pillowing of metal surfaces. Rippling, I get. Pillowing? Haven't the foggiest. But it is a very nice looking aircraft. I mean, this is a very... Excuse me, I'm going to center the view a little bit. It is a very, very beautiful looking, well-created aircraft. You got the oil staining there. This is obviously a Warbird version, so it's not exactly polished metal like, you know, a Warbird would be nowadays. This is how it would look in World War II. In fact, which one are we flying? The Bug? Yes, we're flying the Bug. So yeah, it's dirty, it's used. Where was we? Animated, authentic US military pilot. This chap over here. Figure plus your choice to remove for an Asobo stock pilot. Why would you? Okay, the Asobo stock pilots are fine. You know, they look good in a Cessna. They look good in a 737. They've got to be bespoke to the Warbird here, and he looks pretty much exactly like what I would expect a World War II pilot to look like. We have choice of gun sights and a GPS and clean stores or pylons. I'll go into that in a minute. Yes, we can add a GPS to this aircraft. Don't know why you'd want to add a GPS, but apparently you can. Highly accurate flight dynamics and performance based on real flight tests. Okay, so apparently this handles like the real P47. Now, the only P47 I really got much use over wasn't even in this sim, it was in DCS, because the P47's over there as well. And being DCS, it's a very realistic simulator, and I can remember it being a bit of a swine to fly. All right, once you got going, and when you got going, she'd be fast, but getting going, a little bit different. So we have specially authored WWII's high fidelity sound package. Echo 19. That's all I'm going to say. Echo 19. Unique code to iron out poor simulation tail dragger performance. Okay, so apparently it may look like there's obviously 3 wheels on this aircraft, and there is 3 wheels on the aircraft, but how it interacts with the ground obviously has been tweaked to make it quote-unquote more realistic. We have loadout choice with armaments. Obviously they don't drop, they don't work. This is not DCS, this is not a combat sim in any way, shape or form, but you can add bombs and fuel tanks to the 2 wing pylons, and I do believe the centre pylon as well. And we have 13 authentic and very colourful liveries to choose from. We also have not just the American P47s, we also have the British P47 and I do believe the Russian P47 on the Lend-Lease. So, as you have seen so far, it is a very, very lovely looking aircraft. I mean, it's aggressive as all hell, but it is a beautiful looking warbird. I think we're getting to that stage now, and I keep saying this, that the developers are just knocking out brilliant looking aircraft. And externally speaking, this aircraft definitely be looking fantastic. So let's move on to the interior, okay, before we start going. And again, it looks a bit of a cluster in here. That's pretty much how the Warbird was, how P47s came along. And it's not A2A levels of realism. And in fact, I do believe the A2A do a P47 in FSX days. I'm sure they did. It's not that. You know, all the bits and pieces work, don't get me wrong. All the bits and pieces work that you need to make this aircraft fly work. But it's very well done, and it's very weathered, and it looks very nice. There is a few little issues. I mean, this is supposed to be a very accurate looking cockpit, and it is, don't get me wrong. We've got a worn looking dash, obviously the gun sight. It looks worn and pitted. The canopy, where the canopy slides up and down, that's obviously going to be worn and polished in certain places. But if you zoom in here onto the throttle section, you will see, we'll just take this one here, this is the mixture lever. Now, as I move, the mixture moves, perfectly normal. But there is a black line that lines up as if it's the shadow caused by this throttle lever. And it's sat there, but it doesn't move. The shadow doesn't move, the lever moves. And it's the same with the prop pitch. If we bring that back, again, we've got a shadowing effect here. Lever moves, shadow don't. Same with the throttle. Got one over the middle here. And the supercharger has the same lined up shadow effect that does not move. A little bit of an issue that breaks the immersion just a tad. It's also shown up here on the cowl flap switch. I've got that connected to a button on my joystick. So, as it's in now, and the cowl flaps are firmly shut, you'll see there's a shadow where this pull switch would be. So when you pull it back out again, the shadow doesn't move. But the item does. Again, that kind of thing does break immersion just a touch. So, I'm not going to quibble about it too much. I can forgive things like that. You know, they shouldn't have got through the process of creation, but obviously it did. But it doesn't break away from the fact this is a very, very good-looking aircraft. Very uncomfortable-looking seat. But then again, I suppose it is a Warbird. So, I did say that there was 2 different versions of the P47. We have the... I don't know which version of the P47 we have. Do we have the P47... I have no idea which version without looking into it. There is a P47 that flies in the UK. I believe it's called Nelly. I can't remember. And she'd be a P47D. And one of the big variants that changes is the cockpit here. This is an earlier P47, and it has what was known as the Razorback configuration, which is this section here. Now, from the front, everything looks fine. Pilot can see out, pilot can see to the side, he can see up. It's not an issue. But it's very difficult for him to see behind him, and that's usually where dogfights happen. The fighter gets behind you and you can't see. So bubble canopies were brought into service, and I believe in the Jugs case it was the P47D that had the all-round bubble canopy, which gets rid of this Razorback configuration. So that's why the P47s, some of them look a little bit different. Again, moving on to the sister aircraft of this particular aircraft, that would be the P51 Mustang, the aircraft that probably got more of the limelight than the P47. It's a completely different kettle of fish. The P51, again, had a Razorback canopy and went over to the D variant that had the bubble canopy, but has a different style of engine. And it's that's why the P51 looks more sleek and more cutting through the air, whereas the P47 just kicks the door down and just goes on in, and it does not give a monkeys about anything. And that's why, I mean, don't get me wrong, P51D Mustang, amazing warbird, probably one of the best warbirds in aviation history. P47, it's a little bit less angelic, just as important for bomber escort and air superiority. Obviously, this one's armed with the 850 cal machine guns, just like the P51. Very deadly on ground attack, and this is one of the great things about the P47. It could absorb a lot of punishment. Bullets going into the engine wouldn't really affect it too much. Obviously, a cannon shell probably would, but bullets from machine guns wouldn't really affect it too much, and the P47 would get its pilot home. The Mustang, on the other hand, yeah, you get too many bullets into the engine, you have cooling issues, and then the aircraft will stop. Just the way the engines were designed. Also, I'm just going to move on to the options we have here. We have this little switch here, and that gives us our quote-unquote 1940s sat-nav satellite thing options, I'm going to say. So at the bottom here we have our right pylon, centre pylon and left pylon, and these are the options for having various bits and pieces put onto them. So we can have fuel tanks. What was that, 75 fuel tank, 108, 150, 500-pound bomb. So we can have various things on, and they do show up. Yep, that'd be a big whopping bomb. Again, it's not DCS. This does not drop. Obviously, marketplace versions wouldn't have this at all anyway. Same options for the centerline. We can change the pilot here for some reason if you want to have that version. Well, it's not bad, I suppose, but it is a warbird, so no. And we also have the gun sights. We have the, what was that, the NB3 and the Mark 8 gun sight, obviously accurate to the P47. And if you want frequently getting lost, you can have a sat-nav put there and get rid of the gun sight altogether. Tiny little sat-nav, but we're not going to worry about that. So, what am I going to do today with this aircraft? Because we've been sat on the ground now for a while. I've decided I'm going to do this little video a little bit different. Because this is a warbird and she has paid her dues many times over, and I'm not going to carry on talking over this aircraft. This aircraft sound is very, very important, and like I say, warbirds deserve a little bit of respect. We've come here to Imperial War Museum Duxford, where the P47 has displayed quite a few times, and after this little speech, I'm going to shut up, I'm going to start the aircraft up, and we're going to go for a flight. And we're going to put the P47 through its paces in a display style, and hopefully everything is going to be all right. But I'm not going to talk over it. The P47 is the aircraft that's going to be doing a lot of the talking. So I'm going to shut up now, and probably everyone's going to be cheering over that. And let's get over to actually hearing what we've all come for, the mighty sound of a Pratt & Whitney engine in a P47. So let's get this started. a interesting flight in the P47. As you can see, my first landing attempt wasn't exactly the best. I wasn't particularly happy on the approach. But the great thing about making approaches like that is you learn where the issue is and just fly out of it. And that's exactly what I did, just to pull out and come back around for a better approach on the second one. So if you're after a Warbird for Microsoft Flight Simulator, I wholly recommend the Aeroplane Heaven P47 Jug, or Thunderbolt. It is an amazing aircraft. It's a heavy aircraft. You do feel that in the controls. But once you get above 250, around 300 mile an hour, it's pretty much a joy to fly. Still very manoeuvrable, but like I said, you have to be concerned about the weight, which is a story with all of us, I suppose. Anyway, so if you've got any questions or comments about the P47 Thunderbolt by Airplane Heaven, bang them below and I will get round to answering them. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in a brand new Flight Simulator video very, very soon.